Good evening and welcome to the Overwatch Pacific Championship. I'm Kevin AVRL. Joined with me tonight is Matt, Pixie, Carol, as we're about to head into the 9th week and 4th and final round robin before the playoffs. And it does feel like, Pixie, the beginning of the end.
It really does, and we kick it off the way we've kicked off pretty much every round robin. We do, of course, have AHQ and Flash Wolves up tonight, but before that, AHQ have to come up against SunSister.
Obviously, very good opportunities to pick up much needed points. AHQ currently trail Flash Wolves by 1 point on the standings, which is very important considering they are battling for that #1 spot, which will give them an instant entry into the grand final.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So here, of course, is SunSister on your screen. So, kind of touch on SunSister as well. I mean, let's be frank, mathematically, they are out of the running for playoffs altogether. And they are probably still the only team that is desperate to show that they have learned something during the tournament. They really need to demonstrate some of the improvements they feel that they have made, because it hasn't shone, at least hasn't come through in the same way that it has even for other teams like Detonator and like Fireball, who have sat around the lower part of that standing. So this is still a team eager to prove something even this far into the tournament.
And it would be very important. This would be a good opportunity to prove how far they have come. And they've got to come up against a very important team here. AHQ, like I said, second in the standings, one of the best teams in the OPC. One of the best Taiwanese teams, one of the best teams in general. And it is, unfortunately, a team that is trailing Flash Wolves, because this is a team in the second round robin that had a perfect streak, had a 7-0, did beat Flash Wolves, and are currently, they're looking at their weakest.
They actually are, and that's kind of interesting because just before that, of course, the other top 3 team, Blank, had a bit of a downswing of their own. So AHQ now in that same kind of position.
So we're going to just have a few words from captains in place.
好，他说呢，希望今天的比赛呢，我们能打得像今天下雨一样厉害。那我们现在请呢 HQ。
I'll be translating this one over as well.
例行赛其实差不多接近尾声，那我们也是即将开始在准备季后赛的事情。那也希望我们新的风格跟新的元素可以为接下来比赛带来更多冲击。
All right, so Mollis from SunSister did say that he hopes that his team can play as well as they did in practice this afternoon going to this next match. Coach Nito from AHQ has stated they are preparing now actively for the playoffs, as they are guaranteed to be in the playoffs. So this will be an important step in as part of that practice moving forward.
There you go. Interesting that thought from Mollis, because like I said, they do actually feel like they have been making improvements in their scrims and things like that. And they feel that they have actually been getting some better results, better and better, in fact, throughout this tournament. So, like I said, it hasn't actually come through yet. Now, look, let's be honest, AHQ, they are a team that is guaranteed a spot in playoffs. It is a hard team to demonstrate that skill against. But Detonator did exactly that not too many weeks ago now. They were able to take a whole map off AHQ and have since then, at the very least, shown a similar level of gameplay throughout the other games, even though it's a bit late in the tournament for that to be reflected in the standings. Now, that's not really the fault of the teams at that point. That's just the nature of a long tournament. SunSister, they're in the same spot. A good result tonight would be, heck, even a close finish on a single map. You could be absolutely pleased with that. That would be a demonstration of improvement.
And just taking a look at the leaderboard as well, Flash Wolves, AHQ and Blank leading the way. 18-3, 17-4 tied, and then in 4th and 5th place, or 4th equal rather, Machi, Esports and Hong Kong Attitude at 11 and 10 both. Trailing them are Fireball at 7-14, Detonator Gold at 3-18, SunSister unfortunately still at 0 and 21. We've stated how important it is this round robin for them to pick something up, something in the form of an actual win on the leaderboard. They have 7 matches in this final round robin. There should be a win somewhere in there. We would hope there is a win somewhere in that. But taking a look at the top as well, AHQ, they trail Flash Wolves by 1 point. I've said this before. What is important here is AHQ need a clean 7-0, I believe, to be able to take their #1 spot.
Yeah, if nothing else, look, they have to beat Flash Wolves after this one tonight in order to be able to, at the very least, tie for first place. And that is assuming Flash Wolves lose nothing else and AHQ lose nothing else. So both of those are in fact quite big asks. I think one of the most interesting things out of the standings, and actually I think we're going to take a quick look at the teams before I get to that. So yeah, because there's something else interesting that did actually happen towards the end of that round robin. Anyway though, here of course first up will be SunSister to remind us all of their lineup.
And of course, if you've forgotten, it's XQQ, Zepman, Ilu, Night Owl, Mollis and Odinkun, with Coach Sherispan on the side as well, and the sub Kira 44. still on the bench.
Yeah,
for
have
this
not
evening.
seen much of Kira 44 for a good long while now, actually. They obviously, they really have hit their stride with XQQ. And I suppose that's been one of the things, right? They had a couple of weeks with Kira, then brought in XQQ, and since then have had to do all of that kind of gelling that you do as a team, where you kind of have to figure everything out while the tournament has been running. So they've been kind of coming into this one hot. On the other side of this, AHQ Esports Club now, Cowman, Busy, and a few others. We will actually get to them in a moment. We get a more detailed rundown, but here is, of course, a little bit more detail on SunSister.
Let's take a look at this because we have Night Owl starting things off. Captain of the team and the other support as well, Elu, right next to him. This is a team that has been keeping the same lineup now for, I'd say, the past 7-ish, maybe 8 even weeks, starting to blur the time a little bit as to when exactly Kira 44 has not been playing. But what's interesting about this team is there has been a week, not last week, but the week before, I believe week 7, where Zetman stepped out and Sherry's Pan played in the tank position for him. So since then, Zetman has come back into the fray for this team.
Yeah, and they've seemed to have felt more comfortable with Zetman. Part of that, I believe, is just straight up down to the necessity of Winston in this current meta. You want someone who is more of a good Winston player than a good Reinhardt player at this time, and in that, someone who can also do their Reinhardt when needed. And I think Zetman just frankly fills those boots rather a little bit better. Here, though, is the most interesting member of this team, XQQ. That 3 heroes really does not say the half of it, does it? Let's take a look at HQ now, though.
And hopefully you'll be able to see right towards the end. I did see a little bit of an interesting tidbit in that initial lineup of what we're going to see tonight that I'll talk about in a moment when we get to the specific play, but this is going to be dizzy. I'm loving the new uniforms actually coming out from AHQ.
Very
I've had
sleek.
the sort of standard AHQ shirts before, but now you've got all the sponsors on there. You've got a very sleek looking shirt. They're ready for playoffs and they're ready in style.
They look like a jet fighter, don't you reckon? Like, they just look absolutely streamlined. This is, yeah, very interesting indeed. Kerry's is back in, and this is a very late juncture, I feel, to be making the substitution because he has not been in for now coming on about 7 weeks, which is an absolutely phenomenal amount of time. So to bring him in at the top of the final round robin, and I think he may in fact still be in their game against Flash Wolves after this.
I would expect him to be.
Me too as well, right? Unless they do change it up again, in which case you would also wonder why. So this is a very bold move, I feel. But you mentioned this is a team that's had a couple of problems recently. Maybe this is their...
Here's the interesting thing. Round robin number 1 for AHQ, not the flashiest. They came in 3rd, I believe, after Flash Wolves and Blank, who cleaned that one up 7-0. And then coming into round robin number 2, it was AHQ 7-0 clean sweep run. Now, in that run, they ran carries in every single match of memory serves, right? It was last round robin and round robin 3. They started to bring back Eddie Boss. Now, I'm not trying to say here that Eddie Boss has been the issue for AHQ, but what I do know is when they ran carries in that 2nd round robin, a 7-0 sweep. Now they're looking to do that again, and AHQ will need to do that again. And this kind of feels like AHQ bringing out the big guns, and I agree with them.
In a way it does. I mean, you almost wonder if maybe they were wanting to hold on to this for playoffs themselves, you know, maybe have something in the back pocket, but you're right, actually. Getting that 1st place finish is significant enough to warrant this now rather than holding on to it for playoffs. Exactly. Because, of course, the main thing with this playoffs run is winning team, 1st place at the end of the 4 round robins, gets straight through to the finals. The other 2 then have to play each other. So having a guaranteed spot in the finals, that is absolutely massive. And in so doing, you get to watch the other 2 teams pull out a chunk of their playoff strategy as well in the semi-final that they will play. So you actually gain a huge amount, not just positionally, but also strategically.
And just to remind everyone of how the format works as well, the top 3 teams will be going to the playoffs. So far that is guaranteed to be Blank, AHQ, and Flash Wolves. And what we are fighting for here is that number 1 spot, like you have said. But now back to the match itself.
Well, hey-ho. Not necessarily guaranteed. There is still 2 teams desperately trying to push their way in. And that's the interesting thing. This is what is on the line for AHQ. This is why I think they brought out the big guns. One of those 2 teams, they're tied for 4th place. AHQ lost to Hong Kong Attitude. It was absolutely unprecedented, but it has opened the way for them and Matthew to maybe break in. It is still a very tall order, but it has made it, I think, a much realer possibility than it actually was 1 round robin ago. And I think that is what these teams are now very cognizant of, these top 3 teams. That is what AHQ are cognizant of. So as much as SunSister, they want to show improvement, AHQ do not want to show weakness.
Well, AHQ and Blank are in on everything except mathematically. For them to lose out now, they would both have to go 0-7 in this next round robin. We will now move on to the actual match itself. SunSister have picked their map. It will be Nepal against AHQ Esports. This is going to be an interesting pick because SunSister have significantly moved on from their, I would say, home pick of Lee Jung-Tao, which has been their normal control pick. Nepal has been now their normal control pick every single time that we have had them on control for the past round robin that I've seen.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's interesting about this as well is for a good long time, and I would say arguably still, AHQ have very much favored Nepal. It hasn't always been their go-to because you also want to demonstrate skill at every single control map, sure, but you know, if they want to just go in all guns blazing and go for a hard and fast win, they've tended to go for Nepal. So SunSister picking this, I think, is quite interesting. It demonstrates that confidence, like you said, of this being their home map right now for control.
And a good showing on Nepal would speak volumes to SunSister's improvement as well, and also to the potential of them taking that match win later on in this round robin. Now, the closest they've had was a 2-3 run against Fireball, I believe, was round robin number 2, if memory serves correct.
Right.
And that was a real scare for Fireball and almost should have been a win for SunSister. That was 2-0 before Fireball reverse swept them. Now we are in the final round robin. AHQ looking to secure a clean sweep and SunSister looking to secure any match wins they can.
That is absolutely the case, and a similar result here for SunSister. You know, as odd as it is to say, a 2-3 loss would actually be a huge result for them against AHQ because of the current caliber of AHQ. They are, like you said, all but guaranteed a playoff spot at this point unless something goes horribly, horribly awry in this round robin.
Like you said earlier before, even a 1-3, I think SunSister will be quite happy to take away. That would at least put them on equal footing with Detonator Gold, who have taken that one map off of AHQ. And catching up to Detonator Gold is important for SunSister because that is one of the key matchups where they can or should be favored to be able to win.
It's one of the only teams really within striking distance for them, but in any case, stuck on into Nepal now. Out the door, nothing too unexpected at either of these teams, actually.
Triple DPS out from AHQ, though that is slightly unexpected in the sense that AHQ have not been the team to realistically been running triple DPS. Now Lazy Titan usually on the D.Va is actually going to be on the Soldier. That's a bit of a change up.
It is. SunSister themselves also running this triple DPS, which puts a lot of weight onto Zetman's shoulders, I find. Also interesting, Dizzy is going to be out on the Tracer. And obviously this is how they work their triple DPS. This is something we haven't seen them pull out. So again, they're really wanting to shore up their last couple of things. This is what they will have been working on, I guarantee, in the run-up towards playoffs. Lazy Titan, unfortunately, getting picked out by Zetman, but all's well that ends well as they pick Zetman in response. The pressure's starting to come down now as HQ is set up on the point. Mollis is going to try and buy time for his team, but I don't know if the regroup is quite so possible. He really has to keep his distance. Finally going to go down actually a little bit too far in, and HQ will get the capture.
And the performance here from Dizzy and Lazy Titan is going to be extremely important now going to playoffs for AHQ because Dizzy needs to get off of that one trick from Soldier. He needs to be able to show promise on the Tracer pick, and Lazy Titan needs to be able to flex onto DPS as well. This is the flexibility test for AHQ. Can they pull off something other than just triple tank, other than maybe even 2-2-2, get Dizzy off the Soldier? This may be the AHQ that can win against Flash Wolves tonight.
Well, Cowman just kind of closes that one out almost before it has started there. Zetman did get the return kill, but look, it doesn't even matter. This is still time on the point. Erica getting picked as well, but look, SunSister, too scattered around this backside. Even with those frags out, they do have to back up and regroup. XQQ as well was a bit too low to keep that one alive. So AHQ are just kind of buying themselves time. They've got the old economy running, and they're looking to just cycle through. Easy breezy.
Easy cycles as well. They only got that last win off of one ultimate. If they can get it again off of one ultimate, this will be extremely good. I do expect SunSister to be able to pull out a big fight here. They have Tech Vise up, should be used, but already they may have to fall back. Like I said, one ultimate for AHQ would be perfect.
And I wasn't even expecting them to use the Pulse Bomb for it. I mean, Pulse Bomb has become a bit more of an unreliable one lately. I mean, it's always unreliable, right? If you don't land it on someone, then it doesn't do anything. But it's interesting that it was that just one that they dedicated to get the double kill.
Well, the only other ultimate was the Primal Rage. That wasn't going to be an ultimate that can get you that fight win. Now, getting the Pulse Bomb, even one kill would have seriously been something that AHQ can use to snowball the fight over. Now, SunSister may not have necessarily backed out of that one, but the last fight, yeah, they kind of had to. This one, though, 5 ultimates coming in. I expect them to play, especially with that kill.
Ooh, they really ought to win. Luckily, Mollis did commit the Pulse Bomb before going down. That tack buys out Lazy Titan, forces out the Transcendence here, and AHQ is going all out here. Nothing much out of SunSister just yet as they now commit the Dragon Blade. That forces the Transcendence out of AHQ now, and much like that tactical visor that's, Dragonblade finds nothing. And SunSister, even with all those ultimates up, finally starting to get themselves on the point. Odin can try to brute force it, but goes a little bit too deep into Erican, who is still getting lovingly topped off by Keras. Finally goes down to his counterpart, Night Owl, but yeah, it doesn't matter because Keras himself securing a 3K. SunSister able to squeak the point through there a little bit, but Erican is still, Cowman rather, was still trying to keep the pressure on. He could have actually backed off a little bit earlier, but this is certainly not over for AHQ.
That was actually still a massive pickup for AHQ despite losing the cap. Now, I expected AHQ to hold on to the cap for as long as possible.
Yeah.
They got it over 90%. In fact, they hit it to 99, which is about exactly where you wanted. Maybe 98 would be slightly better here for AHQ, but they didn't have to lose too much there. Triple kill from Keras was unreal.
That actually held it down for a long time. But again, it sort of shows how scattered SunSister actually were in attacking the point. They weren't really focusing down Erican enough. And now here we go, Cowman getting right into this one with the sound barrier running as well. And there's absolutely nothing defensive here for SunSister. They did exhaust all their resources capping that point through. The clean wipe comes through. 99% it may be, but I don't think SunSister are going to get there in time to contest this overtime. It is only Night Owl who is alive, and he's floating as fast as he can. Will not get there. AHQ looking clean.
The real issue for SunSister was that the one fight when they got 5 ultimates, pretty costly. A lot of other teams would be able to get a win with a little bit less, and even with 5 ultimates used, you want to be able to force out more from the enemy team. Now, again, the big factor there, Keras with the triple kill. This is why you run the Sky. I mean, I feel like Keras is definitely a bit of a factor for the team, and the first time he was actually subbed off was, I believe, in the 3rd round robin when AHQ lost to Flash Wolves. And actually, in that post-match interview, Bacon Jack from Flash Wolves said, I don't understand why Keras was subbed off, and I have to kind of agree with that.
I wonder if a part of it was they felt they got more flexibility out of Eddie Boss.
Well,
I haven't, I
have a
if I'm
reason
not
for
mistaken,
this.
I'm not sure if they've actually run triple tank with Keras.
I have a reason for this, and that's because Eddie Boss is there. He is the team's Sombra player. Like, he is the person designated to be playing the Sombra. That's something I've sort of gathered from the AHQ interviews. Now, that's not to say, I'm pretty sure Keras can play it as well, but as far as AHQ goes, that is a reason. Also, he is the captain of the team. He also helps out in the shot calling department.
Yeah.
But in terms of the team's overall power level, I kind of feel like it has dropped. And Keras,
Yeah,
well,
no, I'd agree.
he is a welcome sight, I believe.
He actually is, and that's the thing. Even with him not being on the starting roster, right, they would have still been scrimming with him. He would have still been very active in. I mean, even in the scrims he wasn't involved in. You're right, he is quite a central figure in the team, so would have still been involved in a lot of the, if you will, coaching side. As much as he's not the hands-out dedicated coach, that is very much part of his responsibilities in the team. So I feel like his presence has always been a factor in AHQ and is now coming even more to the fore given that he's on the starting lineup. And I suppose that sort of shows that slight edge you get, that little bit of difference, because they were still a top 3 team even with Keras off. That is the presence of him there being felt in the team. And then with him on, they are a top team, a top 1 team.
I would actually like to see just how clean AHQ can pull out a victory against SunSister tonight.
Certainly.
Because, like we just saw on Shrine there, the one fight loss that didn't have, I kind of feel like a really top squad like AHQ and Flash Wolves and Blank, realistically, that's kind of a fight they could even essentially pull around. They almost did. Like,
exactly. They almost
did with enough kills, and I think they were trying to be quite lean with that. I noticed they didn't use a couple of the ultimates. They didn't want to. They didn't actually really want to commit. They obviously saw 5 ultimates coming out from SunSister, and they said, "Look, we can actually just back off here. Don't want to play this one too risky." It was clean in a macro sense that they were able to pull back, come back in, and clean up that fight. But it would have also been quite clean the other way around. So clean on the macro side on one end, clean on the mechanics and fight win side on another end, where they can just outskill SunSister. And they kind of did half and half and definitely achieved, I would say, bits of both, more on the macro side.
Yeah. By the way, I think we've got a bit of a pause going on in the background, so we'll give you updates on that if we do have them. But there's actually something quite specific, I think, in that fight that you can pick out. And that was Erican did use his ultimate when he didn't quite need to. He could have held on to that, but again, it's a negligible difference, right? It's one of those calls that you can't be faulted for making. In any case, all issues resolved. We are back into it. And this time I'm going to be heading up Sanctum.
It's one of those ones where he really values his own life. It's one of those situations where, as a Winston player, if you're under threat, you may want to use it to save your own life, specifically in a section where you want to hold down for progress anyway. But we are going to head into Sanctum, different map now. Same lineup from AHQ.
Yeah.
This is their comfort zone right now.
Triple DPS, but SunSister back now to the 2-2-2, and already Dizzy putting on the pressure. Look at the SunSister being forced completely back, not even able to contest this ground on the side here. They do get a trade back onto Erican, but honestly, they're so hard pressure, losing so many members here, it's not even going to matter. They do pick Cowman as well, but Lazy Titan, oh dear, Dizzy going down. Never mind, that could start to swing it, because Lazy Titan gets picked as well. It absolutely does swing it. SunSister are a little lean for members themselves, and AHQ were at least on the point, but they're only on the point with supports right now. Crappy is not able to get any legendary boops there, and actually SunSister can now set themselves up on this one if they get their members in quickly, because AHQ, oh dear, Erican too deep. That is going to be the point going over to SunSister now.
A lot of kills coming up from SunSister. I see what AHQ were trying to do there. I actually saw as soon as Erican went back in, it was opportunity for AHQ to maybe be able to hold the cap. What they were trying to do there is make sure the cap did not go up to SunSister. Unfortunately, what happened is they ended up feeding a lot of members away for SunSister. Now, what is the big test now? What are SST going to do with those kill advantages and all the ultimates they charged up?
The real one that swung that was Cowman going down, because he and Dizzy were both trying to put the pressure down, but now with that ultimate available, could be a bit of a different story. Kara's sat there with the Transcendence running, Night Owl, no such luck, and then finally gets taken down. Elo is well picked out, and SunSister already, this has gone disastrously pear-shaped for them. XQQ picked off as well, and that is looking to be a clean sweep if they can pick Mollis. There he goes, and wow.
Something else I actually noticed there, quite important to note, is despite SunSister winning and capping the point, they actually had less ultimate charge overall than AHQ, who lost that cap. So
yeah,
that just kind of speaks to the difference in pure, I would say, aiming mechanics coming up from AHQ, that they're able to get enough damage and they still charge their ultimates faster than SunSister, despite losing a fight.
You know, a funny thing is part of that is the 2-2-2. There are two tanks who are getting topped off in health. It actually creates more health to charge your ultimates off, as counterintuitive as that can sound. But now AHQ taking full advantage of it. XQQ going deep with this tactical visor. Does find Lazy Titan, but is now very dangerously deep, as they're going to have to do a full wraparound if they want to get on top of the rest of AHQ. Now, finally getting Crappy. AHQ well poised to surround them now, as Lazy Titan has already got the respawn. They pick Night Owl. Good pick onto Cowman. Could give them a little bit of breathing room in this one. Now, and SunSister trying to stay set up on the point. AHQ will let the cap go over and may just want to back up for a second before coming into contest.
And this time for AHQ, they're not going to sort of repeat, I guess, the same mistake as the first time around. They respawn fairly quickly. The attack visor is going to be a really important ultimate here to clean up the kills. And this should be now a cap over for AHQ again. Absolutely will be.
Kara's as well committing his own Transcendence as well as Night Owls. So that's a very lean run of defensive ultimates for both teams. Now AHQ will be happy to keep the sound barrier as the cap comes through for them. But yeah, SunSister didn't really have anything else to go off aside from that Transcendence, because unfortunately, Odinkin got picked right at the top.
What's been really fantastic about AHQ's play is the amount of pressure they sort of apply to this cap. Even when they give up that cap, they come in straight away. They have a threat to present straight away against SST, who honestly right now are kind of struggling to deal with this. Like, anything that AHQ are able to use, SunSister, they're finding hard to get a response.
Oh, what great target selection. Cameron sees the opportunity to get onto the healers, goes straight for it. Now he's right around the back, going to completely cut them off. And wow, absolute clean sweep there. They did commit an extra ultimate on top of that, Erican using his there as well, but I mean, that was what created the opportunity, you know, it was zoning and then damage, and AHQ just executing with minimum use.
So AHQ, like you said, executing with minimum use. SunSister coming with 3 ultimates here. Minimum use, I don't believe is going to be on the cards for them. They're going to have to use everything here. I fairly certain all 4 ultimates they've got. AHQ should be able to defend this one as well. They're going to hit 99%. Yeah. It will be the overtime. Desperation mode should come out of SST.
Oh dear, XQQ. He just took a dive there. That wasn't even a bump. That is terribly unfortunate. And Cowman able to pressure out Night Owl. SunSister went for it, but they were a little bit too scattered, trying to get a bit clever. Mollis had already gone wide, and now they're looking very lean for ult. Zetman will be able to preserve his own life there, as Odinkin forced out of the mech is going to lose his. And already AHQ, there it is, that, like you said, the pressure they're exerting on the point. Lazy Titan was at 30% at the top of that fight. Finally got the, tactical visor up. I didn't call it Transcendence for some. The Transcendent visor. The tactical visor up, sweeps up the floor, and it's that execution on the point. Like you said, there is this constant pressure there. SunSister, even with everything in their favor, couldn't really get an ideal position on it.
I'd like to believe that a Transcendent visor heals your own team. You shoot your own team with perfect accuracy.
That was Anna's original ult.
That actually might be better than her current ult. Not saying Nano Boost is not very good, but
No, that would be
can you
a great
imagine
ultimate.
though Transcendivise? That'd be pretty insane.
That would be fantastic.
But it is now. It's kind of match point on Nepal.
There's got to be a pun somewhere in there, like of you know, pass into the iris and I've got you in your sights, like, because he also says
I've got
gaze
you
into the iris. Like he also says gaze into the iris. It's not his ultimate line, but it's another line.
I've got you in my gaze.
And it's like, yeah, it's like, I don't know, I've got you in my gaze into the iris. There's something in there, but I can't quite place it. Anyway.
AHQ are gazing upon a victory. I believe 3-0 is their target for Nepal. This is going to be SunSister's final opportunity.
And yeah, that target very much within spitting distance for AHQ is already the pick onto Zetman. This is a 2-2-2 again for SunSister, so they do still have Odinkin to tank, but he's about to lose that mech, so no such luck. Good trade back onto Erican, and now the DPS is a little bit more exposed from AHQ, but look at this pressure. Look, Dizzy's so deep into this, is now absolutely cleaning house. And that's the thing, he gets enough free reign, even as Erican got pressured out and goes down. They can't deal with both Cowman and Dizzy while also trying to kill Erican and Lazy Titan.
Which is exactly the purpose of a triple DPS. You have two mobile DPSs, one anchored on the back as well, which is Lazy Titan on the soldier, protected by two supports and even a pulse bomb coming out from Dizzy as well. This slows down SunSister considerably and does allow HQ to now charge up the other two DPS ults, which they can now use the snowball as well.
And the exciting thing about this is AHQ did struggle a little with triple DPS. They weren't terrible at it, certainly weren't the worst, but they also weren't the best. It was something they had to really sort out, and this
they
is
never
looking.
Really tried.
Yeah, that's the thing. They pulled it out once or twice and went, no, let's just stick to our guns. So I'm really happy to see them not just pulling it out, but pulling it out almost perfectly here.
I don't think I've ever seen them pull it out actually before the most recent weekend. Cowman's pulling out the soldier against SunSister. Look, SunSister
He's
even
pulling out all
with
the stops, is what he is.
Even with ultimates available, SunSister look kind of on the back foot enough that they're unable to really do anything about this.
Yeah.
Can't use attack visor.
Weren't
the sound
willing.
barrier would have been nice.
Yeah, that's the thing. They weren't willing to use the sound barrier. That could have helped them so much there, given them the breathing room to actually deal a blow back and take out Cowman.
Like I said, the first time, well not the first time now, they've ran this last week as well, but HQ now seriously experimenting rather with triple DPS, and still look at the amount of damage outputs being available here. You've got an offensive ultimate on every single rotation. This time it was Lazy Titan. The next ultimate will be Dizzy, and by the time Dizzy uses the pulse bomb, Cowman will have Dragon Blade up, and the rotation for attacking ultimates will keep rotating. AHQ always have something in stock.
They actually did use the sound barrier in that one, SunSister, and I'm a little bit baffled as to why. I mean, if they held it the last fight, why not held it for this one as well, right? And HQ, no one died on their team, absolutely no one. Mollis, Pulse Bomb already gone wide. SunSister already leaned for tools as they commit the Transcendence, but Elu gets picked anyway. The sound barrier kept AHQ nice and tight throughout that one, as they forced the ultimate out of Zetman as well, who was looking set to go down despite it. Erican with his own as well. Odin could finally get one trade back, but honestly, SunSister, they can't even get a toe onto this point, at least not safely, and now Cowman here to chop off said toe. He gets a good number of them, a few mechanical toes as well on that mecha, and that is a very stylish Transcendence there.
And a little bit, you know, this was one of the first few times, I should probably say, AHQ a little bit late on the rotations there. Cowman got his ultimate slightly behind par, not quite on the pacing that AHQ wanted. Ended up not really mattering towards the end of the day. He pulled it out right at the end. Sound barrier even from Crappy just to keep the team alive. But that is essentially all AHQ needed to sort of keep the fight within their grasp. And this was another situation where SunSister used 5 ultimates and struggled. And last time they won, this time they didn't even get a fight.
I think that one there on that play of the game was the one that impressed me the most, because it was, I would say, the epitome of how that pressure style play works, right? Erican went in with the ultimate, displaced SunSister while they were setting up, and before SunSister could then just react and kill the Winston, Cowman committed onto the healers that were separated. That is a microsecond kind of play, right? Because a moment longer, and they've been able to retreat and wheel back around, rejoin the team, or the rest of the team has collapsed in, they've saved the healers. Cowman going in right at the moment he did was that one moment that the healers were actually isolated enough for him to kill them both that quickly, and then it's just a case of a 6 versus 4, in fact, collapse onto the rest of the team. And that is how you win through pressure, even when all the ultimates aren't in your favor.
And stepping up as a DPS player as well. Now, something that has been plaguing AHQ, this is something that they specifically say themselves, is they believe there was a lack of quality in their DPSs, specifically on certain roles. Now for Kalman, that was kind of somewhat across the board, not the best Genji in the tournament, definitely not the best Tracer in the tournament.
Great Roadhog.
Got a pretty decent Roadhog, but now we're talking pure DPS. He wasn't at least bringing that much to the table. And Dizzy as well, a one-trick soldier, perhaps. Now moving on to Tracer and finding some good success on that as well, and like moving Lazy Titan from what was looking like a one-trick diva onto something else, and we bringing the soldier into that. So the fact that Kalman's able to really ramp up his Genji play, at least against SST right now, is a good sign that AHQ are able to patch up their issues.
Exactly, and that's been a big part of now this ability to move on to triple DPS that we're seeing right here now for pretty much the first time. Like I said, they've only flirted with it in like single maps of a control best of 5, right? Like, as in, you know, the whole 5 maps of control. They've only used it like, you know, for a single map.
I don't think
I've
not seen it.
They have done it. They have done it once.
Because it would require Lazy Titan to flex onto a DPS, because they don't run either of these, unless we're talking about Sombra, which I'm not really counting at this stage as a triple DPS. What I'm specifically talking about, if Lazy Titan flexes on a DPS, that counts as them playing triple DPS.
They had done it, and it was Eddie Boss. Eddie Boss had flexed. This was literally one map of a control map. It definitely did happen. I couldn't for the life of you place the day or the week or anything, but it was basically a very long time ago.
There you go.
It was very mediocre. They didn't win that map actually, but and then immediately switched off. They went back to 2-2-2. They went back to the guns. But you're quite right. There's 3 interesting things there, because the one I want to pick on of those 3, the major kind of changes in players we're seeing here is actually Dizzy. Moving off that soldier, because it's not just Lazy Titan going onto it. That's cool for Lazy Titan's own reasons, but we've kind of tracked Dizzy's Tracer throughout this tournament, and it's always been okay, but nowhere near the level of his soldier. But in that game, we actually saw him applying pressure, doing so safely, getting good picks out on good targets at good times, because it's not always just dive the healers. Sometimes it is pressure out tanks, sometimes it is pressure out DPS, but it's a very fine art with the Tracer, and Dizzy has always fallen just a little bit short of the mark when compared to people like Eat You Up and Bacon Jack.
His biggest strength is his aim. Now his sort of biggest weakness on Tracer was his decision making, and I would say ability usage in terms of
his timing.
In terms of timing, blinks, recalls, understanding how to, you know, pulse bombs as well. And I want to kind of highlight Lazy Titan, because that to me is the biggest change, because that is the one player that enables triple DPS. You don't get a triple DPS unless your flex tank is willing to go onto that DPS. A lot of teams are going to find that they struggle to be able to get that done. And the top teams in this competition do not. Flash Rolls can put K-Momo on something, mainly Genji now. And obviously Blank kind of for this tournament specifically were the first team to master the triple DPS. Now AHQ are the last team of the top 3 to be able to do that, but very importantly so they can now do that. And Lazy Titan specifically was the person, at least in interviews, who kind of complained about the quality of the DPS players on the team. So the fact that, well, it's true. Well, the fact that he is now on one of the DPSs himself kind of says, putting his money where his mouth is, really, and saying, look, you know, if I'm not happy with the quality of my DPSs, I'm going to be one of them, and I'm going to show the quality that is required.
And that's the thing that's exciting about this now, that this ability to pull out the triple DPS, as well as also having triple tank. They haven't really needed to do triple DPS up until now, because they are actually really good at 2-2-2.
They still don't need to, technically.
Yeah, this thing, they still don't, well, I'm about to get to that, because I think they kind of do. And this is more a players-related thing, because they have been a little bit inflexible. You're right, Dizzy has looked extremely good on Soldier and nowhere near as good on anything else. They have had the flexibility of being able to put Cowman onto some DPS and then moving him onto tank when they go triple tank. They've been running Eddie Boss over carers with other sort of pros and cons of that, and different flexibility within the healers. But on the whole, they've been a relatively inflexible team compared to a lot of others. Now that they are able to pull out triple DPS, what on earth do teams prep for in playoffs, right? You can't just crack AHQ specific 2-2-2 and then absolutely wipe them out of the playoffs. You have to be able to deal with absolutely everything AHQ can do, and that includes everything they can do with Keras or with Eddie Boss. And that is a tall order.
Yeah, which is very impressive now. It just sort of makes them horizontally more impressive, and a larger threat. Next map
really does.
Is going to be Kings Row, picked by AHQ. Not going to pull out the Numbani just yet, but AHQ on Kings Row is still pretty scary. Now, they don't have to run, in fact, I'd say they're unlikely to run triple DPS here. What is great about
triple tank here.
What is great about the fact that they are now is seeing that they can. It sort of just puts
Yeah.
the fear in the minds of other teams of saying like they could.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Exactly. All the teams that are going to play these guys between now and playoffs, and then in the playoffs as well, are going to be sitting there going, will they? Won't they? What do we prepare for? They can do it on control. They can do triple tank. They can do 2-2-2. What do we prepare for? What do we pick for? How do we even deal with this? And that is very difficult.
I still want to be able to say for AHQ that their most comfortable roles and their most comfortable composition will be, without a doubt to this day, even tonight, Dizzy on that soldier.
Yeah. 2-2-2,
And-
Dizzy Soldier.
With
Lazy
Lazy
Titan's
Titan
Diva.
back on the Diva. Kalman just kind of on whatever. You can put him on a hog
Yeah.
if you want to with the triple tank. On a Zaya if you want the triple tank. Or you stick him onto either Tracer or Genji, most likely Genji based on what we've seen so far. And also because at the moment, as far as the Tracers go on the team, he's okay, but I think Dizzy is slowly becoming
Yeah.
a better Tracer. Although, and that's kind of
Well,
the other thing as well, because
yeah.
now you have to choose, do you want the Dizzy on the Soldier or the Tracer?
And that's what I'd be expecting here as well, that 2-2-2, or maybe triple tank, but Dizzy Soldier, Lazy Titan Diva, at least on the defense, which I would expect them to be running first. Unless this is a real thing. Maybe it is.
This will be
This
most
is-
likely SunSister on the defense. If I'm
yeah,
honest.
yeah,
That would be more believable.
Yeah,
to me.
XQQ with his May, that would absolutely make more sense.
At the same time, if AHQ wanted to pull out something way different just to throw people off,
Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me either.
There
in
we
fact,
go, back
in
to
fact, they're
Spawn.
going back to Spawn, so kind of whatever they're.
Like
kind
I
of a
said, I
moot
wasn't
point.
sure if this was
But
really going to be a thing.
Something I don't know if I wanted to save this point for later or now. I might as well say it now because it's on my
Go
mind and
ahead.
it's fresh. Is the fact that I kind of believe AHQ are pulling the triple DPS out too early in the sense that they could have saved this for Flash Wolves. They didn't have to show this now. Flash Wolves now see this and they can prepare for that. Whereas before right now, Flash Wolves could have gone, yeah, we know exactly what AHQ are going to run.
Yeah. Oh, you're not wrong, but I guarantee they will have pulled it out in scrims as well. So, I mean, you do give away some information, you're right, because playing in that live tournament environment, a little different to scrims, as always, but not too different. In any case, AHQ, there it is, the 2-2-2.
Yep.
Kara's going to be the one on
Predicted.
that Ana. Crappy over onto, this is interesting because when they had Eddie Boss, he was normally the Zenyatta, but today it's going to be Crappy, Dizzy Soldier, Lazy Titan Diva. This is AHQ's greatest hit.
That's because Crappy's not on the Lucio, so
Yeah.
you're going to put carries on the Anub, and if you're not going to run a Lucio, well, Crappy's going to pick up the Zen.
That you are, and that's that healer flexibility. I mean, that's just a given. But SunSister themselves running a 2-2-2, very similar, save for that Genji over Soldier and Lucio over Ana.
Like a
Cowman,
2-2,
yeah.
1.5 now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and now even less than that. So Odinkin, the one getting pressured out, is not good news for them. I mean, you don't want to be losing your Diva right off the bat. That gives you absolutely no room to maneuver in that dive.
Already forces a complete fallback from
Exactly.
SunSister as well. So, 1 minute off the table, what they've really accomplished in that 1 minute is a lost
XQQ has
mech
changed.
and a complete hero swap, which kind of eliminates all that ult charge that XQQ originally had. So it really now seriously slows down SunSister's pushing potential.
And it is a move away from this committal to dive. I honestly, I do question this a little. I'm curious as to why they're backing out of dive so very quickly. They, again, try and get the pressure on the back line, but Cowman already with the pulse bomb. They're just picking on Odinkin. He pops the mech, Lazy Titan gets the girl, and that's how you do a kidnapping.
Oh, I was more romanticizing getting the girl in the more traditional sense, but kidnapping works too. SunSister still looking for an opener here. Very cheap win from AHU. 1 pulse bomb, 1 victory, sets SunSister on the back foot. Again, the 2nd minute already gone, like almost gone, I would probably say.
And they're, again, just struggling to get on this. They do at least have the Transcendence to give them more mileage, but they need to be brazen in committing it. They can't hesitate.
Eden.
Oh, that is a great eat, actually. Good stop up of that one. And yeah, look, they can't be sheepish with this. Mollis sort of getting picked means Night Owl has missed his window if they really want to commit to this point.
And just Dizzy, look how comfortable
dear.
he is on Soldier. And just, he's been, the fact that he has gone unchallenged so far, which is kind of a bit of a standard thing. Many teams find it difficult to challenge Dizzy, but for SunSister, you haven't actually gotten past the AHQ front line. You haven't knocked down the door of Eric N and Lazy Titan to even get to Dizzy. Dizzy's the main problem, but you're not even there yet.
The tricky thing is they keep holding on to ultimates. They want to get a pick first and then go in with
Look
their
who's got the
ultimates afterwards. Yeah, exactly. Look who's got the ultimates. I mean, there was a moment there they could have actually tried to commit to the fight, and sometimes that is just the way you have to do it. But here they are all funneled into a room. This is something fish in a barrel. Dizzy actually struggling to get the kills through because finally Night Owl has found the time to commit the Transcendence. XQQ gets bumped off the edge before he can finish up that Deadeye. And even though they haven't secured any kills yet, AHQ, they have beaten back the tide. That is a good couple of secures though by SunSister. AHQ can have to back off for a moment. Yeah, but Cowman, look, he's already trying to strike back. Now he's got Lazy Titan out of the mech, and he's got the Diva itself as well. And it doesn't matter how many you kill because XQQ is miles away. Night Owl was as well for some reason, and AHQ suddenly kind of struck back. SunSister will at least get this through, but AHQ are going to contest at the archway, and they're going to have better ult chances.
That is actually a really massive loss for AHQ because they had the majority of ultimates here. 6 ultimates to what I believe was about 3 or 4 on the SST side. So for AHQ to lose when you're that far ahead, to lose when your positioning was superior, that's a problem, and they're still losing members currently. This is going to affect their ability to actually hold at that archway or the bookshop, like you said.
I wouldn't quite say the positioning was superior. I think the one thing that really fell short for them, unfortunately, was actually Ericun was on the back side of that fight. I'm not sure what had brought him there, but on the front side, he would have been able to disrupt SunSister's positioning a little better. But you're not wrong. I mean, they still had 6 ultimates against, I think, was only about 3 or 4 from SunSister. So, in any case, they do now forego their ability to defend the archway. Unfortunately, Cowman went a little bit too deep for that one. Still plenty of time to find their feet, look for a fight.
All right, well, you know, this is about the best situation so far for SunSister. It's a neutral position. Might look for something with the Deadeye, but with the Diva in the way as well, Lazy kind of really blocking that one up. Dizzy hasn't really found anything on his flank either, so far, not a successful defense for AHQ and their members. Their health is dropping very rapidly.
Yeah, Dizzy getting pressured back is very good for SunSister, actually. Starting to turn on the heat. This is actually that little bit of ultimate they had there. Just between that and the Deadeye, they've kind of created some space, made some momentum for themselves, picking Cowman off the back end of that. They are going to get a cap off the back of that, so very nicely executed, just leveraging what little they had to really push it through.
It's crazy to think that it's now the second time you're going to have to say they're going to get a cap off of that, because what looked like was going to be a solid first cap defense has now turned into a full push on through. We're on the final leg now for AHQ. They failed and dropped 2 fights, the first of which was a huge upset for them because they were so far ahead. That last one was still a very disappointing one for them, and now they haven't found anything.
This is looking a little bit better now as they try and pressure back XQQ, but a good sound barrier actually kind of steers them through. That Deadeye gets completely blocked out. So now SunSister are going to have to commit a lot more to this fight, and they do actually have a bit more to commit than AHQ. Lazy Titan with the self-destruct can pressure them off, make some space for AHQ to kind of regroup, now try and strike back, get a pick. Dizzy looking comfortable now on the payload, and this is what they're going to do with the space they made. Now this is the pressure we see them exert. Dizzy does get out of it with this life, though. That's the crucial thing. That's really all that matters there. Now SunSister are the ones who have to try and pressure back onto this card.
All right, well, 2 minutes remaining for SunSister to push on through. A double pulse bomb kill from Cowman.
Never mind.
Should be able to secure at least this fight.
Yeah.
And at the corner,
4K.
Kills in
Heck, why not? He wants more. He's going after Odinkin. Won't quite stop him before he gets all the way back to spawn, but that's the difficulty, right? SunSister suddenly had to pressure on to the payload, and Cowman read that. He saw an opening, went straight in, and now they're going to swap up to this Reinhardt triple tank comp because they know they have to try and walk it through.
Well, never mind. Maybe Cowman can compete with Dizzy after all on that Tracer. And it's good that they can compete with each other. The defensive positioning for AHQ is now so much better on that first corner. It's a really good one for the defenders because even if they lose here, they're guaranteed that second fight. So this is the corner to hold for defense.
And they have a very lean run of ults, but it might just be enough, especially with this pulse bomb about to come up. That securing a pick plus a nano visor would absolutely win that fight, but they've given them the time to charge up the other defensive ultimates. It goes wide for Night Owl. They're actually going to go for a very early open on that nano visor, not quite finding much with it just yet. Here we go now, finally starting to open up. As he found Elo, and that seems to be all they really needed. The rest of the team was pressured way back from that. Ericun goes deep to get the follow-up. They actually hold on to the self-destruct. Yeah, great double for Ericun off the back end of that. And like I said, they charge up the other ultimates that they needed.
Yeah, and what that double kill right at the end from Ericun really did as well is just stagger out the respawns from SunSister just enough to buy some additional time, especially now that we're into sub 1 minute. about to head to the 30-second mark. Every one of these seconds starts to really count for SunSister, and they are losing time rapidly.
They really are. And they don't have enough time to get anything like an Earth Shatter up. They're going to be relying on a self-destruct to make space and a whole hog to get follow-up. But they go very early in with this Dead Eye, forced out of Transcendence. But he's zoned off. He can't find anything. All they catch is the mech. The whole hog will pick Erican. But they've got a long way to fight through as they lose Zetman. That is a big loss for them. Night Owl's already pressured out. Odinkin, he hasn't had a safe spot to get back into the mech. He finally gets back in, and a good trade back now onto Lazy Titan, but they have to stick on this payload. Dizzy, he can get out of this. Luckily, good positioning there and good follow through by Keras to keep him safe. And they've still got plenty of room to defend now as the respawns come through. Crappy does get picked as the Transcendence is there for Elu to keep them through the pressure of this Erican. This one, not the other one. Yeah. He had that nano boost on him as well, which is a very common play we see with that Winston, but it's really just mano a mano, and now Night Owl holding onto that nano boost could absolutely turn the tide of this one as Zetman gets this Earth Shatter up in just a moment. They're keeping the momentum going for now.
This is actually a point in the game where I expected HQ to swap Erican back onto a Reinhardt, and they're kind of struggling with this Winston because they're not able to dive in effectively. Mollis is shutting them down. It is showing this card is still pushing despite the overtime nano boost still available. The next take buys from Dizzy has to be the game winner or HQ will lose the point.
Oh, Lazy Titan's already lost the mech. They've had every opportunity to go to the fight. This is an interesting one. The Deadeye, look, it only catches Lazy Titan, but that's going to stagger the spawns. It gives SunSister the room. Yeah, it absolutely will be. I think they maybe didn't need to commit. Yeah, didn't quite need to commit the Earth Shatter, but the whole hog will do what the Earth Shatter will not be there to do, and that is keep AHQ stuck in the base as SunSister walk it through to the end. AHQ gave themselves every opportunity to defend at the end there, and then just failed. That is a little harsh.
Kind of heartbreaking, but...
okay, I'm not going to say heartbreaking. I'm going to say that is actually joyous, because this is exactly what we said SunSister needed to do, right? They needed to demonstrate some form of improvement. They really did create the space for themselves. They really did execute that very well towards the end. They drew out what AHQ had available. They absorbed it because they had built a comp. They just barely made the swaps in time to do so. Taking the hit, an ultimate charge, were able to charge their ultimates back up. They sort of lasted through just long enough to get themselves set up on the payload, then took full advantage of the positioning they created for themselves and marched it through.
I was going to end that by saying heartbreaking for AHQ because this was a victory for SunSister on the cap at least, based on, great for them, they capitalized on the mistakes AHQ made, but AHQ making these kind of mistakes right now, losing in fights where they're heavily favored to win and just being put in a position, like you said, where they had every opportunity to secure the win, every opportunity to secure that defense and let it go on many, many fronts. So that they had a very good start on that initial cap point, but wow, what should have been a first cap defense went into a full cap.
You know what I'm a little bit reminded of is actually Hong Kong Attitude versus, I believe it was SunSister just last week, and that was on Temple of Anubis, where they had about 7.5 minutes to attack the second point. Right. And I felt like they didn't play as clean as they could have. And I feel like AHQ are doing the same here. And by that, I don't mean they failed to because they're bad and made mistakes. Sometimes teams do fall into this slight trap, I'll be honest, of going, look, let's just take a breather. Let's take a moment. And maybe HQ didn't quite hit the go button at the right time.
All right, it's going to be the next push now coming through. I think HQ are not going to waste anything here. I would be very surprised if they're not concerned about their previous defensive performance. Want to get a quick one on through, get a massive advantage onto the time bank is definitely on the cards.
Already well poised to do that. I mean, look,
back on the triple defense as well.
Yeah. I'm not actually too surprised to see this. Unfortunately, losing Dizzy does hurt them a little bit in terms of the pressure they can exert. XQ is forced onto the ground, though. I don't think HQ are going to quite brawl this one out. They had forced SunSister a good way back, actually getting a couple of picks through. Never mind. They kind of drew SunSister too far forward. They overextended themselves on the ground, and AHQ had the health balls to do it. Lazy Titan may go down at the end there, but it doesn't matter. AHQ now have the numbers advantage. They train down Mollis, which means their healers are kind of scot-free, and they're going to get the cap through. That was absolutely beautifully exerted pressure.
This is about the stage of the game where I expect SunSister to make a change back onto the Reinhardt. That was something that they did quite well against AHQ, sort of dive pressure there with Mollis onto the Roadhog as well. And what they did on the defense, especially with that lineup, is because AHQ never changed Erican off in the final bits onto the Reinhardt, AHQ were perfectly counted out composition-wise, and they could be put in that same situation if SunSister decide to change, which I want them to right now.
This positioning by XQQ. This is the Dizzy special, but he's not finding the same. Mollis, though, is going to open up with Pulse Bomb. There we go. He's able to deal with Erican as well, since he did not have the follow-up from his healer. So with those two ultimates, they do at least get enough kills to set themselves up for a moment here. But they don't have many else after that. AHQ do still have plenty of ultimates to use to break through this.
Absolutely, just so, you know, for SunSister, usually AHQ, if Nepal's the example being used here, one ultimate, one win, it's not something SunSister can do, at least not on King's Row. That being said, AHQ have sort of had that bit of a blunder with ultimates before anyway. This is a very aggressive defense, which I kind of like out of SunSister, because they do want to be holding under the archway, and with the car position as it is, they can still do that.
I like it, but it puts them very deep. They're now a little overextended. Lazy Titan able to commit the ultimate for it. And they had forced some ultimates out of AHQ, but AHQ had more to use anyway, and now you see that coming to a loggerhead as they are the ones cleaning up. Cowman didn't even need to commit his ultimate there. That was just all resets for him because the groundwork had been done by Lazy Titan's tactical visor.
Well, it was a bit of smoke blown from SunSister, a lot of aggressive smoke blowing because AHQ were happy to wait that one out, speed themselves backwards, and just say, cool, you'll apply this pressure and we will counter you with all the ultimates that we have saved up. Now, the distance AHQ get here is extremely important. Expecting SunSister to still take a token hold here, delay this one out at least.
Well, here we go. This is going to be the big open up. Actually, a good pick already by AHQ getting out the... getting out to everyone at this point. It wasn't even a pick. It just ended up being a wipe. And the only one who went down was Keres. So, did it even matter? Absolutely blasted through.
Again, big goal for AHQ to be able to get on through very quickly here. Massive advantage in time back will be exactly what they're expecting, will be exactly what they need after, again, a blunder of a defense for them. So, SST, they had a good attacking run. Now they need an even better defensive run if they want to get this one done.
And it is going to be a tall ask. They actually haven't, like you said, swapped over to that Reinhardt still, so they want to stick with this, but already losing XQQ. They're struggling. Mollis going to go wide with the Pulse Bomb. They're pressuring Zetman while Mollis is sort of busy off on that Wild Goose chase. Odenkirk is about to go way too deep, tried to root around for that top side there, throwing out the self-destruct. Catches crappy, but AHQ, they've, actually good sleep on the Lazy Titan, yeah. So never mind that. They were actually just about to go striking back, but that sleep changed everything. With his Lazy Titan's tactical advisor out of the picture, they couldn't clean up that fight. Instead, it is SunSister who can.
You actually see how volatile triple DPS can be. If you're winning, you win really hard because the damage output is crazy. But if you're sort of start losing members here, you remember, you begin and you're reminded of the fact that all these extra DPSs you're running, the low health pools, the lack of a strong forward defensive tank is just something that kind of distracts the enemy team and applies a lot of frontal pressure, but really your health pools are still quite weak on the back line.
Yeah, it is a team comp that absolutely relies on pressure above all else, which is why we have to compliment AHQ's pressure when they're exerting it, and that's same thing again, just dealing with Zetman's right there, getting straight into the back line. And this is the back line itself that Cowman is now opening up like a tin can. He only finds the one, but he forced out the only defensive ultimate SunSister had remaining. Now Lazy Titan is able to take advantage of that, getting the pressure down. AHQ do commit their sound barrier, but look, even if they're not getting the kills here, which they are anyway, they open up the space, they dry out SunSister.
Widowmaker?
Yeah, Widowmaker, because they're that desperate. SunSister did not get enough ultimate charge off that.
I don't know.
AHQ still has something to go off here.
I don't know if it's desperation or something else that I don't want to quite say on stream, but it's actually, he's able to get a pick in here, but he's not going to be able to stall the point out. This is something I've seen from XQQ before on the final cap point. It's unbelievable that he's actually able to get these kills. Somebody shut him down, please.
Well, they may just be able to, but even so, now he's around the back side of this one. Look, he may actually get a couple of... I'm going to be bummed if that works. It doesn't work. There we go. Lazy Titan reacts to it. Yeah, I was going to say, he wasn't really able to contest the payload anyway, and speaking of payload, through to the end, they're going to get themselves 3 minutes 13.
You know what? I think this was a necessary scare for HQ because they needed to be reminded that, by the way, you're not invincible. You may be the number 2 team on rankings right now against the number 8 team, but you need to be able to still show your best performance. You can't really let anything go here. And for SunSister, that was a scary moment because ASU should feel threatened after they should not feel like this is totally in the bag and they can't take it seriously. Not saying they weren't, but
No,
again,
I mean, you never-
a blunder from AHQ
Yeah.
is a really scary moment.
I mean, you never want to say that that's the case, but you also do want to find an explanation for what went wrong there, and something did go wrong. So, at any rate, I don't know what I was going for. If any rate, I don't know what my mouth was doing, but it wasn't what my brain was thinking. In any case, AHQ do seem to have fixed that blunder. Whatever was going wrong is not still going wrong, or at least not for the time being. This defense will be the proof of that, though it will be SunSister first on the defense, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it will be.
Actually, no, it'll be AHQ because SunSister have less time. So they'll be attacking first. AHQ on this defense, now they do have something to prove.
No.
Or no, because they had 0. I'm
Yeah,
completely
they went into
wrong.
the overtime, so they have to defend
You are
with
quite
only
right.
1/3 on the first cap. And at the rate that AHQ capped the first time around in their attack, which was very hastily,
Yeah.
this will be.
So
the
I just do
hardest
need to
defense
correct
ever.
myself. It is 2 minutes 13. I was assuming SunSister would get that extra minute.
This is a
used to
very
get-
different.
yeah, but in
kind
any
of
case,
I,
it is-
I expected the Mercy here, actually. If they're going to run a fair,
Yeah.
you should run the Mercy, not just because it's a great pair with the fire, but really, you want to hold this first cap. The res will be important.
Yeah, if you lose it, you're lost. That's
Well,
it. And that is a
something they lose.
bad start. Execute you out of the picture. The pressure comes down. Look, Lazy Titan, look at how set up he is. Even Mollis can't even get the pressure on the side, and now AHQ are going to beat back the rest of SunSister, who are just kind of forced further and further back into the start, trying to cede more and more ground. Odinkin goes in as Zetman goes down, finds himself up a creek without a paddle, and AHQ set up on this point. This is where you wish you had a res, because look at how much difference it would make. But the third goes over in nary a heartbeat.
Yeah, it would make a difference. Unfortunately, there would not have been enough time to actually get that
Not
res
even.
out. That was so quick, and this is the thing you'll learn very quickly about AHQ is there is a non-0% chance they run that soldier. It will come out, whether it's coming from Dizzy or now coming out from Lazy Titan. This is a team that will not ever not run a soldier. That came out a little bit weird, but the message is there.
Never not run.
Yep.
Well,
It's
you're
going
right.
to happen. You want to
Yeah.
be XQQ. You're XQQ thinking, but A, you're not going to run a Mercy with your Pharah. B, you're going to run a Pharah at all into a team that has the best soldier in the entire tournament. If Dizzy even wants to pull that up, if he's not going to pull that out, then you have Lazy Titan, who's been pretty good so far on that soldier, at least against SunSister. But the fact remains, you want to take that risk against AHQ.
Well, there you have it. AHQ now 2-0 and up, and right, like I said in that, SunSister actually did get one thing that they needed to get, and that was a demonstration of improvement. I will be honest, there was a SunSister once upon a time that would have found themselves in that favorable fight where AHQ had basically used more ultimates than they should have, kind of, mucked up their own economy, basically. And there was a SunSister that would have still lost that fight just because they got out-fragged. There's a SunSister that would have mispositioned. There was a SunSister that would have lost that for any one of 100 reasons. But in this game, there was a SunSister that twice got it completely right, both the times they were presented with that opportunity. So you do actually have to give absolute credit where credit is due with SunSister there. And getting the cap was a massive part of that. They were able to get the payload a significant distance, capitalizing on AHQ's, let's be honest, sloppy positioning on the defense.
The big thing I got to credit for SunSister is that change up right at the end of their attack when XQQ did go on to McCree, when Zetman did go on to the Reinhardt. The one thing XQQ does quite well on McCree, which unfortunately we didn't get to see, but it's there on the paperwork, is the fact that Deadeye counters out Transcendence very well. It's one of the few abilities that just does not care about Deadeye whatsoever. Now, we never really got to see that because AHQ pressured XQQ correctly. That he did time it. There was a moment I saw the crap, he pulled out Transcendence. Immediately, the Deadeye in response, he never got anything out of it. But again, you like the idea of it, and I like also the idea of Zetman going onto the Reinhardt with Mollis's Roadhog, which severely pushed out Erikin. With Erikin out of the picture, the rest of the DPSs, the rest of the players on the AHQ side, they're all easy pickings after that, and they have no way to effectively break down Zetman's shield. And this is why AHQ should have also changed onto their own Reinhardt when they saw Zetman change himself.
But that's part of it, isn't it? You know, that's part of how you're able to end up in these situations where you're pulling out a lot more ultimates than you're using, and that's because for whatever reason, you pressure them to the point where they use Transcendence, you use the Deadeye, and then they must commit more, right? They have to commit, and not just more, something very specific, something like a Winston ultimate, which you would rather use in a different situation if you are AHQ, because you have to get on to XQQ, you have to displace him or deal with him somehow. And if your flankers are being dealt with, if Cowman has been picked for whatever reason, or Dizzy has, or they're just not able to get to XQQ, you have to do something. You have to find some way to get onto him. And then to do that and also not kill him, which is what kept happening in those fights, you just naturally use more resources than the other team does. And that's how you can kind of even up the tables there. It's little kind of micro plays by that. And it's one thing that SunSister actually can do because XQQ is very comfortable on McCree. Other teams are, but they just don't practice that.
Super scary moment from SunSister as well, you know, pulling out the Widowmaker at the end there.
Yeah.
And it like half worked, and I didn't expect it to half work. In fact, what should have happened is it should have just been kind of a bit of a laugh, and then the cap happens, and you know what has happened in the past, where I think Temple Anubis is the biggest example, where XQQ kind of just pulls it out at the end. The best scenario is you get these kills, but the worst case scenario is you don't get the kills, and also you cannot contest the point because you're running a Widowmaker.
So you don't get kills, and you look like an idiot.
Yeah, which it was kind of halfway there, because he ended up getting some kills, which was pretty good. But you know, some interesting changes up from XQQ, and this is the guy that does make these kind of changes. This is the guy that will sort of pull out 3 or more different hero picks per game.
But that's the binary nature of Widowmaker, and teams do know that, and there are situations where you can deploy it. That is not one of the situations in which you can deploy it, right? The situations you can are like attacking first point on Assault, because that 1 pick, that 2 picks, that could absolutely change everything. And if you're not getting that, you're picking it on a map that also has Widowmaker exerting pressure and forcing positioning out of the enemy team. Otherwise, it is way too binary. And in that, right, he got 3 kills. If 3 kills isn't enough, then how many would it need to be? Like, if you have to kill more than 50% of the enemy team for your pick to be worthwhile, then it's just not worth it, right? That is why that is a situation you wouldn't deploy something as binary as Widowmaker there. He would have been better off, God forbid, on his Mei. At least you can stall out on the payload.
One thing I want to sort of mention out, just a little bit of moving to the side a little bit, is looking back at the triple DPS from AHQ. Is the one difficulty they may have moving forward with that is, should they actually want to go into the 2-2-2 later, they have to sort of make a couple of awkward changes there to make it work. Laser Titan goes back on the Diva, and then Dizzy has to move from Tracer back into Soldier, but we'll have to find out, you know, what exactly are AHQ going to do, and SunSister are about to make their 3rd map pick in this best of 5, and it will be potentially their final one. If they don't win, it will be Assault, and it will happen right after this break. Welcome back to the Overwatch Pacific Championship English broadcast. We're about to head into map number 3 of AHQ versus SunSister. It's going to be Assault. It's going to be SunSister's pick on their home side, and it could be their last one.
It absolutely could be. And where do you even take this team to right now?
We know.
Yeah, it's going to be Temple of Anubis. That's where you take this team to. And look, I don't feel like there is any map that is or is not favored, just because what can AHQ not play? I mean, there's not. I mean, it's Assault anyway. I mean, they're happy with the Sombra comps. I mean, maybe that's the one thing, is you try and force them onto Volskaya because you don't know how good carries the Sombra is compared to Eddie Boss. But I mean, even then, you would assume it's going to be perfectly adequate.
And that's a scary question, because before you would say, well, AHQ are just going to do exactly this, maybe 1 or 2 different things. Maybe they'll change. Maybe is Cowman going to play Tracer against you? Like, that's the biggest question you would ask. Now it's going to be like they have all these different comps. They can go triple tank 2-2-2, triple DPS. Lazy Titan now also plays a Soldier. Now you got Dizzy more comfortable on a Tracer. Cowman still plays everything he originally did. And AHQ are looking more flexible than they ever have, which is the scariest version of AHQ.
And they were tough to beat when they were predictable.
Yeah.
Like, what is this now? You know, how do you? It's
exciting is what it is.
Yeah, it is. You know, for the teams that are going to come up against them, and this is going to include Flash Wolves immediately after this, right? How do you even come at this team? How do you even approach these guys? Both in the maps you pick, the comps you play, the particular heroes you choose. Like, you don't even know what you're going to be trying to play against, let alone predict.
I mean, I bet Flash Wolves, they're definitely in the audience right now thinking like, okay, we need something a little bit.
They're taking notes.
Because we didn't expect this to come out. This is now, you got to now prepare for the triple tank coming out from AHQ, and then you would have to apply your blank preparation with the triple DPS from beforehand, also into the mix, and also against Blank's current 2-2. You would have to sort of apply all these different things in there. It definitely changes things up. It definitely freshens up the tournament, which I quite like.
Certainly going to be a lot to talk about coming into that matchup, but before we even get there is still this matchup, and I'll be honest, it isn't over until the was going to say fat Australian sings because I thought I saw a Roadhog for a moment there, but
what,
no
what,
such.
what word would Roadhog sound like singing anyway? And by the way, I thought Blizzard said he was New Zealander. I don't even know.
For real? No, he's Australian. In the lore, he's Australian. He's got...
I'm not too sure. I read somewhere on Reddit. I don't know how much you can trust those things, but somewhere on Reddit, someone linked a blue post that said something about New Zealand.
He's got 2 vaguely Polynesian-themed skins, and like they're not even necessarily Maori specifically. They could be Samoan. It's hard to absolutely.
Anyway, lore aside, though, if you're a lore buff, you'll know the answer to the question, and we don't, but we'll have to find out at another time. It's going to be Lazy Titan.
There isn't even a Roadhog in this.
Exactly, it's not even a Roadhog. If there was, well, Cowman to be playing it, it would be a Cowhog.
Yeah, well, it's not over until the skinny French woman headshots someone, I suppose.
Really? Because that would be over fairly quickly.
It could be over very fast. You're quite right. Is that it? There it is!
That's not a headshot. That's actually a concern because while we said it could be over quite quickly, Lazy Titan took some time to get their first kill out, which if you're committing this pick, you're committing this Widow pick, you're expecting a little bit more out of this. And now he's split off from the rest of the team. You've got half of AHQ sort of near the front lines and Lazy Titan somewhere in the back.
Well, I was gonna say it seems that the same could be said for SunSister. I mean, they seem a little bit scattered. AHQ are sort of, as much as they're only half on the point, look, SunSister are half on one side and half on the other side and half trying to deal with Lazy Titan and a whole lot of halves. They're a whole lot of nowhere.
Game of 4 halves, I think.
Yeah.
Would be about right.
Well, look, they're taking the point, and XQQ is still kind of trying to deal with Lazy Titan here. Look at this, they're not even really touching the point themselves here, SunSister. They're just kind of bouncing around and going like, oh man, which one do we deal with? Which one do we deal with? And they're just constantly getting picked bit by bit. They're not able to mount a concerted defense. It's taking a little while, but AHQ are in control of this.
It did actually force out the Infra Sight out from Lazy Titan, so that's one ultimate sort of gone from the mix. One thing Lazy Titan could have probably done with that is said, well, I don't need to hold on to this. I can change hero onto Soldier or something else, maybe a Diva. They're going to keep this going. I'd like to see how far and how long they'll run the Widow for. Still got a Riz, so that's something they can play for, but XQQ has gone now onto Sombra.
They've actually got a lot, and XQQ, he hasn't got that hack up just yet, hasn't got the EMP running, so they've got a big window. Erican, though, getting pressured out here. That is a very bad start. Probably takes the wind out of the sails for that, but Cowman's going to commit anyway. Yeah, never mind. Forces the Transcendence out, but good catch onto Odinkin's mech, but never mind. The picks come through. XQQ able to catch out the Mercy off the backside of that means, no res. AHQ, even if they get a ton of picks here, probably wouldn't really have the mileage to secure this one out. Now, Dizzy goes down, so they will just have to back off.
Did actually manage to get another Infra Sight in the middle of that, which is kind of interesting, and the timing is a little bit awkward now because you're right, they had to back out in the middle of that, and losing Crappy, I would say, was the biggest factor. Losing Erican started off the snowball for SunSister to be able to win. Losing Crappy secured that victory for SunSister on that attack.
Well, there's going to be the opening, and already picking up Zetman, despite the nano boost onto him. Night Owl, barely scrapes out with his life, but he misses the sleep dart. Mollis is down. Cowman going to duck briefly out of the way of a self-destruct, and absolutely nothing going to be found by anyone by SunSister. HQ already well set up on this point. Couple of trades finally come through. Yeah, the tempo res to get Keras back through. And Crappy unfortunately does go down a second time, but here's Cowman ready to try and close this one out with his Dragon Blade. This is looking pretty devastating, actually. That's the word for it. They actually haven't quite got the third through, and this is tough to watch, man.
I can tell you what's devastating is Lazy Titan's still on the Widow pick. He's only just managed to kill Night Owl now, but the whole time AHQ was actually on that point. He contributed to 0 of those kills from what I could tell in it. Maybe he had hit some damages there, but the fact that he wasn't hitting those headshots, actually landing those kills is concerning because they're still onto that pick. It's about time maybe he changes.
AHQ, yeah, there we go.
I
was going to say, AHQ need to pack up their Hong Kong attitude. They were the ones who did not break this point despite having 7.5 minutes to do it.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat that.
There we go, yeah. So they're going to swap over to the Soldier. This is more expected.
You do not want to be the second team to have that happen to you, so.
Yeah.
Especially after losing the Hong Kong attitude as well, then that would be something else.
That would be, you would feel so silly. In any case, now, look at this pressure already on the catch XQQ, so no EMP. Unfortunately, losing Keras, no more Mercy anyway, so no res would have been available had they wanted it. Night Owl does get picked, but AHQ, they have to get a lot of mileage without losing anyone here for this to be worthwhile, and they do start to get it. Dizzy opens it up. He now forces those tanks back. And Mollis going
That
down
EMP
as well.
does nothing.
That EMP absolutely useless. They do catch Dizzy on that and get a trade back onto Cowman. But AHQ, look, I don't even think they'll get a third. Once again, they had almost all the kills, but the moment you lose that 1 or 2, if the rest of the kills don't come through quickly enough and cleanly enough, you can't get to the point in time to overwhelm that defender's advantage.
I'm actually surprised that AHQ reacted the way that they did to that sort of EMP. They actually had a massive player advantage there. I don't feel like they should have been affected as much as they did. It's not like they had ultimates.
They got spooked.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what it looked like, because
Like
SunSister
they'd
only
never
had-
seen it before. They're like, what was that?
SunSister only had like something like 3 members alive anyway, one of which was XQQ on the Sombra with minimal damage output as it is. The fact that they cleaned up so many kills with that EMP is surprising, because a lot of the times when an EMP comes out, you don't have the damage to back it up. Nothing happens, and nothing should have been what happened.
And that's the second fight they did that. I mean, they did that in the very first one, trying to get the snowball. They pulled out the tempo raise and everything, and they still had picks go down not in their favor. This is going to be the second big commit by them now, and again, it's not quite working out. If Cowman or Dizzy goes down here, then that'll be... I mean, they'll be forced to back off. Like I said, you can't overwhelm that defender's advantage. This time, though, they're looking to do a little bit better, but never mind losing Cowman and Dizzy, and that is exactly what I said. They were not anywhere near the healers. You cannot pick up those health packs because Sombra dominates it, and now AHQ are overstaying. If they keep committing to this fight, doesn't matter what picks they get. SunSister will overwhelm them. Their DPS will not be able to get there in time. I don't even feel they can get a third off this, and they're just kind of wasting their own time now.
And you know what? I said Lazy Titan needed to swap. What he needed to swap onto was a Diva, not a Soldier, because they need the additional sustain out of Matrix. They need the protection. What they're doing with triple DPS here is the weakness. You're running super low health pools. As soon as a member gets picked, the snowball starts with SunSister. And AHQ, you're right, they haven't got that third, and they're barely able to keep their members alive. They're dropping so many members in these fights.
Yeah, also, obvious as it may sound, you've got a Zenyatta. You can only heal one dude at a time unless they all regroup around the Lucio, which isn't what flankers want to do. They want to pick up health packs, which you can't do because of Sombra. Now they're going for another big commit, but look, they haven't secured a third yet. SunSister, the first 2 to get picked up already respawned. They're already coming back on. They do pick up Night Owl rather. That is a good open for them. Now they're starting to connect a few more through. But again, they need to not lose a single DPS member. Finally going to get onto this point, and this should be a third they are able to secure out here. Mollis desperately trying to get onto the healers. Ooh, he does just barely get one, but they are able to get onto the point. They get a third, even as Night Owl secures Lazy Titan, looking to get their second third. Now SunSister, now they're actually the ones having to attack onto the point themselves. EMP is a good way towards that, but they already lose Night Owl. They're starting to pressure off AHQ though at long last as they take out Erican. They need to be able to open up onto the DPS now. Cowman trying his darndest to make sure that doesn't happen as this blade is out. He's trying to get onto the tanks of all people. He does somehow manage to get Zetman, but the trade back does finally come through, and AHQ will just maybe barely be beaten back. Oh, hold on, now it's only on XQQ to do it. He got cleaned up. Lazy Titan. Last second there, he just went, oh, I guess I'll just kill whoever's left.
And they secured it right at the end there with a number of respawners reaching the cap in time. And I guess the good thing here, so the weakness is, of course, you're losing members quite a bit. The good news is you've got a Tracer, a Genji, and a Soldier that can all reinforce quite quickly now, but you do see the problem with the weakness. Despite how far ahead AHQ were, there was never a time when they were not losing members. So we've spoken many times about the fact that attackers, their deaths cost more.
Yeah.
Cost so much more. The fact that they're able to still lose members is concerning. They're running that triple DPS is a massive risk. Where they won that, the big kill was Lazy Titan with the headshot kills onto XQQ on the Sombra at 96% EMP, because had XQQ had lived, got in that EMP, used it at an appropriate time where the rest of his members were alive, that would have been another successful defense, in my opinion, for SunSister. But because he got killed at 96% by Lazy Titan, they were able to snowball that one through. So found the right opportunity, was a bit of a risk in my opinion, didn't play it as safely as they could, but they kind of got through it at the end of the day on pure mechanical skill and a bunch of other factors. Good, but risky.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not the biggest fan, I suppose, of this triple DPS into Sombra on Assault. I mean, you're relying on getting a full team wipe, and I'll be honest, AHQ didn't actually do themselves many favors to that end. They committed 2 fights after they'd already lost a member, and I feel like, as harsh as it is to say, from that point on, it's pretty much a lost cause, but...
This Mercy laser beam here kind of reminds me of, do you remember those old arcade games, Raiden 2, the one with the
I do.
Yeah, you get the purple lasers,
The
you
purple
sort of
beam,
just-
and it just locks on, and like it doesn't matter where you like. You just
Yeah, but
that
the way
was the
you,
best, man.
But the way you play it is like you just kind of spam it across.
Yeah,
the screen.
yeah.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
then. By the way, the other thing I kind of joggled my mind. It wasn't appropriate to bring up at the time, but night owl. Do you get a day owl? Is that a thing? Are day owls things or not?
There are some owls who are active during the day, actually.
Yeah, okay.
Very few, very
There it
few.
is.
Most are nocturnal.
I was going to say a night owl. I thought night owl was just kind of a given. But
Trying to remember.
apparently
I think the term for like the opposite nocturnal is diurnal,
Okay.
which is active during the day.
There's something.
There are some diurnal owls.
I'm diurnal.
No, you're not.
All right, fine. I'm not.
It's like it's midnight. You are not diurnal. Well,
Oh, well.
guess who is
Both
put
the
well to
teams are
sleep?
Temple
Yeah,
of Anubis.
both the teams are. Yeah, they're absolutely active during the day. But on Lijiang Tower, they're nocturnal. In any case, Cowman, unless he is Grave Ernal, he's not going to be having much of an effect on this fight for now. And here comes the pressure up for SunSister, kind of catching up the scattered members of AHQ. Now, if they can take out Erican here, no, they can't quite manage it. I was going to say if they can, then that would have boded really well. But actually, this has been enough time now for Cowman to regroup. And Odinkin kind of goes piling in a little bit too deep. Maybe thought Erican was lower than he was. And they
Where's the
unfortunately
EMP?
lose that mech. Yeah.
Waiting for that EMP to come out. It should come out eventually. In fact, they might not.
I don't
even
think they need it.
Which would be really great because they get to save it for the next fight and get the other ultimates as well. What you really want to combo with the EMP here is a strong DPS ultimate. Something like the Dragon Blade from Cowman would be absolutely perfect. Here we go, early Infrasight as well. This will actually be very good for finding where the Sombra is to sort of play around the EMP
Yeah.
for about one more second.
When she says been here all along, you'll know. And
now you don't know.
Yeah, you have no idea where she is. Absolutely none.
Oh well.
I think that's the best moment in that moving the payload 2 thing, where the Sombra's just like, been here all along. It's like, okay, thanks. Well, look, this is the fight now as AHQ just kind of... SunSister was still setting up. Like, they're like, wait, hey, no fair.
What I actually quite liked about their fighters is the choice of ultimates. So EMP, obviously, the one you want to use. But what did you want to combo with that? Where's your main damage output going to be? Sure, you want to just use your members, but what else are you going to go with that? The nano boost onto Erican was quite nice. It was like a half commit. They don't want to use realistically anything else, but the nano boost just gives you enough of a damage boost to actually get you across the line.
Yeah, good pick onto Dizzy. Again, kind of opens the way, but they need to pressure quickly, and that's not something that this Widowmaker is really good at doing unless you get that
Wow,
extra...
what is that Transcendence?
It's for fun. Unless you get that extra fast pick, and Cowman is going to try and make that not happen. But unfortunately, while he's doing that, the rest of SunSister are kind of on the point. But now they're going to swing back with that EMP, and now Cowman is able to come back into the fray. Unfortunately, he won't get much for this Dragon Blade because that self-destruct was there on the point, but now they have the numbers to pressure off SunSister if they so choose, and they do indeed choose. They have to deal with these tanks first, but even that's starting to work for them. The third hasn't even gone through. Finally, Cowman gets taken out by Zetman. It's just man versus man there, I suppose.
I'll tell you what, if that Transcendence was for fun, now Night Owl and I have very different definitions
of fun.
What is not fun currently is still, we haven't gotten that third out from SunSister yet, and another EMP should be on its way. EMP and Sombra should not be this effective on the first cap. There are not enough health packs for this to really be as effective as it is.
No. But it's
Also,
working.
this is just a super open space where
Yeah.
you can't effectively EMP everybody.
This is going to be, again, a big rush towards the point, but look, they've already lost
Good sleep.
XQ Mollis here, put to sleep, and now shut out on, means that SunSister can't even do it on this one. Like I said, a lot of the problem here is the Widowmaker. Even when you do get that one pick, you actually have to get another one or two for it to be worthwhile, and because XQQ can't be moving towards the point while that happens, look, it's as good as a 5v5 with just that one pick, and a 4v5 is still winnable for the defense if they got the ultimates up.
And much like I said about Lazy Tyrant earlier, at some point, you're going to have to swap off the Widowmaker if it doesn't do the job you're looking for. And currently it's not, because EMP is coming out this time. No holds barred. It's not just going to be a solo nano boost. You're going to get a Dragon Blade alongside.
And they've already closed out two. The only one they've lost is Keres, but Keres has kind of pulled his weight at this point. The health packs are still hacked. The EMP is long since out. And the respawns may start to trickle through for SunSister, but even that, look, XQQ, this is the problem with Widowmaker, is even when push comes to shove, he cannot get onto the point. That's going to be a first hold out of AHQ. Not at all unexpected, but I'll be honest, SunSister, a real failure to adapt, a real failure to honestly play anything other than this Widowmaker to break the first point. They actually always pull that out on Assault. It's very readable, it's very binary, and frankly, in the final round robin of the tournament, you should know better.
Which is a bit of a far cry from what we saw on Kings Row as well, because that was where they adapted. That's when they said, we're going to run the Mollis on Hold, we're going to run Zetman on Ryan Hunt, we are going to switch XQQ onto McCree, and it worked out for exactly the reasons I pointed out back then as well. So a different sort of performance out from SunSister and a different performance out of AHQ as well. One that they needed to be able to show was the AHQ we expected rather than the one we saw on Kings Row.
Yeah, you also saw in that play of the game that was at the very end there, and that's the thing, right? I suppose that's the pro and con of triple DPS when you're breaking that second point. I mean, as much as it's very fragile, you lose one member, and honestly, most of the time the fight is as good as done. At the same time, really any one of your 3 DPS could absolutely go off. If the setup is there and if it's done right, if everyone's low enough, you're just going to suddenly clean up. Yeah. And that can happen too. And that is exactly what happened in that fight, even though actually by that point they had already lost one of the tanks and one of their DPS.
Like I said, volatile. Triple DPS can absolutely explode in your favor and also, you know, against you as well. Your whole team could explode, or you could explode the entire enemy team. And I kind of harking back to very earlier on in the first round robin, one of the teams said that, I believe it was Crappy from HQ, that literally said when Blank ran the triple DPS against them, and maybe when they've tried it out themselves, they said, look, it feels like it will just explode, whether in your favor or not. You can either get a huge, massive run through where your damage is just crazy, or your health pool is so low that your members just get cut down.
And that's exactly the tricky thing with it. And that's why it's so great when a team does it well, because getting it to consistently explode in your enemy team's face is actually something that requires a lot of finesse and that requires a lot of skill, and it's something that requires very active decision making, right? You have to be very, very fast reacting to what's going on around you. You have to have great communication, great shot calling, all those other back-end things that go beyond just basic aim. Because you'd think, right, the team with the best people at aiming is going to be the one that's best triple DPS, but that is frankly not true.
Something else I forgot to sort of mention here as well, and we'll probably see that when we get the updated standings, is AHQ now taking that one-match victory, well, the one-match victory actually does not give them that first place tie. They are still one loss down from where Flash Wolves are. So what AHQ need here is, it is not okay for them to just tie up with Flash Wolves. That is not going to give them a tiebreaker opportunity. They have to actually be ahead. Being ahead of Flash Wolves will be the only situation AHQ are guaranteed to be in first place. I know that sounds obvious, but being equal now is not good enough.
You're right, it is not. They do have to win this one against Flash Wolves, and then in a way they had to hope that Flash Wolves lose a couple of others, and that is completely out of their hands. And that's really the gravity that comes into that next series, right? Because a loss against Flash Wolves, you're suddenly relying on Flash Wolves to lose, not just to Blank, who probably the only other team who is likely to take a win off them, but then someone else.
Just doing some math.
Someone like that. Well, AHQ would have to lose only that one and then win everything else, and then Flash Wolves would have to lose 2 games, and then they'd be tied.
Yeah, no, actually, if Flash Wolves lose to AHQ, they would also be on 4 losses, and AHQ would be on 4 losses because both these teams will be on 4 losses.
Yeah.
If Flash Wolves lost to nobody else, they would stay on 4. If AHQ now get a 7-0 clean sweep, they would be on 4. And both the teams would finish on equal wins and equal losses.
Exactly.
And that would actually be a tie situation.
And
that would give. So actually, if AHQ do nothing else, well, if AHQ beat Flash Wolves in the next match, and then both Flash Wolves and AHQ go undefeated for the rest of the round robin, that would be a situation AHQ would still find acceptable, because then they would at least get a tiebreaker against Flash Wolves, and kind of at an advantage being that they would have already beaten Flash Wolves to get there in the first place. So they'd be feeling good about that, if nothing. So this next match is extremely important for AHQ.
Yeah. I mean, basically, best case scenario, you get a tiebreaker. Worst case scenario, you're relying on someone outside of the top 3 to create that tiebreaker for you. That is a very, very tricky spot to be in.
Best situation for AHQ to be in would be to beat Flash Wolves and then for Blank to also beat Flash Wolves.
Exactly.
And that would not allow Blank to actually catch up to AHQ, but would secure AHQ their first place positioning.
And that's the thing, because of these tiny little micro changes in the scores, it's pretty unlikely actually for Blank to be able to take that uncontested first place spot, unless AHQ do lose to Flash Wolves and then Blank beat both AHQ and Flash Wolves. Look at I mean, there are possibilities, but the thing is, the moment AHQ beat Flash Wolves, it's pretty much impossible for Blank to take that first place spot, again, unless AHQ and Flash Wolves both pick up losses to teams outside of the top 4. I will say, though, such a thing wouldn't be unprecedented, purely because AHQ did have their loss to Hong Kong Attitude last week.
We're actually going to move on for a moment as we reveal the player of the game awarded, and it was going to go to Kerry's.
Welcome back, Kerrys.
Onto the Zenyatta, and exactly, welcome back. And it feels like I'm definitely welcoming him back. It's kind of been long awaited, I would say. The triple kill in Nepal would have been one of the key moments that secured that MVP award.
Yeah, absolutely would have. And look, we saw the general reliability of him, right? He actually barely died, and that's no mean feat for a relatively squishy, immobile Zenyatta. You know, he is really, really great at positioning, and this is often on a team that's playing that triple DPS, that very volatile thing.
I would have also potentially have favored Cowman for the Genji. He was very consistent. Now, in a sort of meta where Genji's Dragon Blades can very likely get you nothing, he was consistently getting kills against SunSister. Another player I would have probably have considered onto the MVP is Lazy Titan on the Soldier because, well, you know, him being able to flex onto that, and his last kill on Temple of Anubis, on XQQ specifically at 96%, was kind of, I believe, the game-winning kill that really set AHQ up to win Temple of Anubis the way they did on attack. And just the general fact that him flexing onto Soldier has been so effective is kind of deserving of that award for me as well. But, you know, Kerry's gets it at the end of the day.
I suppose that's the tricky thing, because this AHQ is actually an AHQ that looks very different to what we saw last week. Yeah. It's not just bringing carries back, it's then the full shift up that they're now able to put Dizzy onto that Tracer, he looks good. They're able to put Lazy Titan onto the Soldier, he looks good, and they can put Cowman onto the Genji, and he looks good. Yeah. That is basically 4 whole players who did something very different to what has happened for the last, you know, not the entire tournament, but a good chunk, and they all looked good doing it.
All right, we're going to have a chat with the MVP of that match, which was Keris, and I'll be translating that one over.
之前你们在访问当中啊，都有说过自己的132阵型不是练得很好，但是之前你们说我们不会随便端出来，所以之前不端，今天端是为什么
？We're not gonna bring it out. Now you decide to bring it out.
因为我们当初是真的这个阵容是不太行啊，可是现在看起来我们输出应该都练起来了。我们告诉大家 ，HQ 不是只会打平推阵。
We're trying to show everybody we're not a team that only plays tanks.
比赛闪电狼对上闪电狼也会把它拿出来吗
？Would you bring it out against Flash?
这就不好说。
Kerry says you'll have to find out. I
好，
can't say
等
yet.
等就知道。那我想问，其实大家很久没看到你，其实，在第7、第8周的时候啊，你都没有上场。那自己在台下看的心情怎么样？有没有觉得说回去有跟哪个队友说，哎，你今天表现不太好
？Have you been having words with your members with feedback?
你直接讲了。
Kerry says, yeah, I've been mainly giving feedback to Crappy about his play.
What have you been saying? 为什么就喜欢那边跑来跑去的
What do you like to do when he makes mistakes? I like to point it out and ask him why he does
你
this.
觉得你等下就是因为你今天第一就上场了，然后等下要对上闪电狼，你觉得这是一场硬仗吗
All right, you're about to go against Flash Wolves.
是的。
You feel like this is a rivalry?
那
And
你觉
Kerry
得
says,
准备
yeah.
好了吗
Are you ready?
应该是准备好了。
好，
I think we're ready.
加油好不好？加油！那我们再次呢，恭喜 AHQ 呢赢得这
Well,
次的
thank
比
you very
赛。
much, Kerry
那下
from
一场比
AHQ,
赛
and
呢
hopefully we'll
也
get a
是由
couch interview with
对
them as well. That's very interesting.
Yeah, interesting to hear his thoughts as well about the Flash Wolves match coming up. I mean, this was the match that opened up the whole tournament, if I'm not mistaken, or certainly was the title bout of the day, so...
Oh, we got a special one actually. It's going to be with Zepman and Crappy at the same time, and with an English translator in the middle of that. If there are Taiwanese bits in there, I will also translate ones over.
こんにちは。SST の瀬戸です。
对，非常不错，因为其实2位都是队上的主抠。那你觉得就是对带领队伍这件事情有没有什么可以分享的
What can you tell us about that experience?
带领队伍吗？
对，
你说分享给他吗？
不是，
这样也不太对哦。
跟观众分享。
我觉得他应该也是一个很厉害的主抠才对。
就是你可以分享，
观众分享。
对对对，就是2个人可能会有不一样的见解。
You probably have different styles.
我觉得如果要分享带领队伍这件事情的话，我觉得我想分享的是那个观察队友的情况这件事情。是，因为我觉得这个是比较少人能够做到的。
Reading situations is something I really look at.
我不知道为什么，因为我对我自己的那个观察力，我觉得还蛮有信心的。所以今天
something I really look at
不好的时候
that I focus on myself.
我会感觉出来，所以那在尽量在安排，比如说在比赛中要安排战术的时候，我会尽量让他扛比较少的责任。是，对。
So I like to take responsibility off the other members.
在比赛中啦，这算是一种临场。
那你会到一个比赛场地，然后观察美女有几个这件事吗？观察力很强的话，
不会，我观察力很强，可是我视力不好。哦，对，就没办法，做不到。
就是完全应用在比赛当中。
对。
现实生活可能就没办法。
对，没办法，因为视力实在太差，看不到。
So apparently, there's a lot of things that actually Crappy says it's difficult for him to see in game from his position as well.
質問はIGL を自分が担当してるんで、どういうふうにチームを引っ張っていってるのかっていう質問で、今は XQ 選手が入ってきて結構 Q ちゃんが細かいところを全部指示出してるんですけど、自分はどちらかというと試合前だったり試合中の大まかに決まってる大きなことマクロの方のコーリングを担当してて、そっちプラスあとはやっぱり結構メンタル面とか集団戦負けた時の後とかの持ち返すためのメンタル面をケアしてることが多いですね。So in English, right now I used to be the main shot caller, but since XQ joined the team, he does like the micro shot calling, so like in like team fights and stuff. But I do macro shot calling, so like before team fights or before the game, like we're going to do this plan, and in game like you're going to use the ult like this way, the way that we like plan A, plan B. And also right now because I have more like time to like because XQ is doing the micro shot calling, I try to boost the team's morale like most of the time. So that's like what I do most of the time.
Thank you. 所以他是说现在因为XQ 加入了他们的队伍，所以在平常打比赛那种细节的部分呢，他是交给 XQ 来做这件事情。那他比较像是在开赛前啊，跟大家说比较重要的点是什么，然后每个地图该注意什么点，这个是由他来分配给他的队友们。然后，因为他现在因为他可以把一些责任交给 XQ 来给他，让他去做比较细微的东西，所以他现在呢还注重其实，与其说在主抠这方面，还不如说是在调整他们队伍的整个心态。比如说如果这个比赛这样打的话，我们应该是怎么样，或是说赢了或输了应该是怎么样，这种心态上的问题。
是，好像一个是观察力很强，可以观察队友，然后去分配减或加重的一个工作。然后另外一位反而是希望可以让自己的团队的一个信心能够。
And for Zipman, it looks like you're really focused on the morale of the team and the macro strategy as well.
其实你们已经交手，今天打完应该是第4次了哦，第
4
个循环。
time you played each other?
对，最后一次。那想要
聊
一下，就是对两边的，就是你对SunSister的看法。
How do you view SunSister
我觉得
right now?
SunSister在 OPC 开打后我觉得一直有在进步，是一直有在进步。
I felt that SunSister have always been improving.
显著的是，我觉得在 XQ 加入以后，
是。
I believe that ever since XQ joined, they've definitely been improving more.
SunSister 这支队伍他们有一个硬伤，就是我觉得在单兵上面可能相对其他队伍没有这么强大。
Individually, I think
XQ 加入以后，其实这一点不足。
They have been a little bit weak, but that has been sort of patched up from XQ joining.
是有系统的东西，但是因为单兵这种东西不是马上瞬间可以解决的问题，对啊，所以如果说的话，我蛮期待他们第2季的表现。
是，那如果
I've been very pleased to see them
就是
improve.
也不能说指教啊，就是你对他们的看法，就是说，有提到单兵这件事，你觉得哪个环节反而是他们比较需要去补强的地方
So where do you think they really need to improve?
输出或者辅助？
主要我觉得，比如说辅助的开大时机，还有
I think the timing on the
坦克自保的能力
defensive ultimates
我觉得这2
and
点
the
是
tank's defensive
去注
play.
意一下。然后我如果要讲建议的话，这样有点不好意思。可是讲建议的话，我觉得他们可以尝试就是先打得很凶看看。我觉得这样子会对队伍
Try playing very aggressively and
就
see how
是
that
不用
works.
想那么多，然后套球，
Maybe it would allow you to sort of not think about the game hopefully too much.
就目标一致。
Preppy's saying it kind of make the game a little bit more simpler.
这边也请下面分享一下，因为打了4次，然后对。
How do you feel about that Zipman after playing against HQ 4 times?
4回目当たってこれで最後なんで、戦ってみて感想とかアドバイスあればって話なんですけど、アドバイスは多分ないと思います。見てる余裕がないんで。けど戦った感想はやっぱ一番やりづらいっていうのは結構ありますね。結構最近最後やった時はもう全部だいぶ使ってきたんですけど、前は3タンクとかを結構メインに使ってて、なかなか練習相手がいないんですよね、現メタで戦ってる。なんで結構それこそメタにメタってるような構成とか立ち回りをしてくるっていうのがすごい今トップチームにいるっていうのがやっぱりそういうところから来るのかなっていう、やっぱ柔軟性が高いで対分もできないわけじゃないっていうのが見てて素晴らしいし、ある意味尊敬するチームでもありますね。Should I say it in English? Okay. So it's our 4th time. Like we have no advice. Like we don't have any like well, I wouldn't say confidence, but like
comments or advice or
yeah,
anything.
yeah, like you guys do what you guys, we need to get better. But like overall, like it was probably one of the hardest teams to play against. Like they play a lot of different, like they play the dive comp, they play the tank comp very well.
Right.
And like in the last game they didn't, but like the 3 games before that they played tank comps, and it's really hard to find like scrims against tank comps like in this meta because like everybody else is playing dive. So like I feel like that they really like understood the meta and like played against the meta very well, and like made sure that other people wouldn't be able to practice against their style, so they were able to like go to the top of the league and stay there. And obviously they can play dive comp very well as well, so they're a very well-rounded team, and hopefully we can become a team like that as well.
Alright, thank you very much. 所以呢，他的意思是说，其实因为 AHQ 现在是排名很前面的前段班，所以他以他来讲，他其实觉得就是做你们该做的事情就好，你们做得非常好。他的意思是这样。然后他有特别点出来说，他觉得其实对上你们是非常对他们来说是算是最困难的一个队伍，因为他们觉得你们的坦克真非常非常厉害，非常非常坚固。然后他们真的不知道如何下手，因为这一季好像还蛮多是出刺客阵之类的这种阵型出现，他们觉得这种阵型他们还算能够应付，但是 AHQ 坦克这一出来，他们就完全无法攻破了，所以他们觉得这是你们非常非常厉害、值得尊敬的，也希望他们的队伍可以跟你们队伍一样变如此厉害，这样。
哇，这边是很高的评价。
吹太高了，现在觉得有点尴尬，这样不
好意思。不会啦，下一个问题更尴尬，因为其实你知道，暴雪店尽管外面都有很多女性的工作人员，那他们其实有私底下投票，因为来来去去，然后每一周都有看到很多帅哥，然后最后他们有投出前5名，然后2队是刚好并列在第2。就是前5帅，然后并列在第2。
And now you two are now the top 2 for being the most handsome. I believe.
我们2个并列在第2，还是我们队？
并列在第2。
我们并列在第2，
因为第1在这。
对啊，就其实对我来说，就是这件事情已经没有这么有意义了，因为我是想要当第1，对不对？但是我永远没办法超过你，所以我干脆。
Every saying I'd like to be number 1, but I think you're the number 1, so I can't really get there.
没有啦，我如果是选手的话，我就是在前面了。那因为我刚好不是选手，所以
If I was a player, I'd be number 1.
只有选手的话
this is only between players.
就是2位真的是很帅很帅。那你会觉得就是会试着跟他们，因为我觉得选手跟他们好像都有点距离，除了去拿水以外，然后就不敢跟大家多聊。
I feel like
试着跟他们聊个天吗
？Maybe this would be an opportunity for you
如果他们有主动找我们聊天，
introduce yourselves to the female staff a bit easier.
我们不是那种很有距离感的那种，
敞开心扉。
但是我们如果主动去找女生讲话的话，这样聊天室就刷一片，吱，整个刷起来，这样就不太 OK 的。
那这样我真的把那个女性员工这样的机会就是让你们自己发挥了。那 Zaman 对这件事情有什么看法？
Damon, what do you think about that?
なんかイケメンランキングでのなんかまた絞ったらしくて、ここの2人が同率2位っていう状態らしくて、Who's number 1? Him?
This is number 1.
一番の
Real number 1.
Real number 1. だから一番かっこいいのはこちらの方になるんですけど、まあやっぱ一番になりたいんで、like can we like fusion or something like and likeなんか合体して1位になれないかなという。まあけどまあありがとうございます。照れます。まあなんかファンの方とはやっぱなんか選手って結構遠く感じるっていう風にコメントがあったんですけど、全然それこそツイッターだったりまあ普通に会場に来てくれれば全然話しかけてれば一緒に写真撮るなりサインも一応あるんで書いてあげたりなんか一緒に話すとかも全然時間はあるんで来てくれたら全然話したいです。ぜひなんか話しかけてください。お願いします。So in English, I guess, thank you for saying that I'm in second place. He's definitely better looking than I am. He's way better, like he's just got here. But yeah, like thanks for the honor of being, I guess, second place of good-looking people. I'm flattered. About the fans like not having like a close connection, like I have Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter and tell me to follow you back, I'll follow you back. If you want to talk to me at the stadium, I'm free to talk when I'm out. Like before games, probably not so much. After games, I'm definitely free. So come talk to me. I can write an autograph for you. I can talk to you for a while. Like I don't have anything else to do after the game. So please come and say hi to us. And it really like boosts our morale. Like when we know that people are cheering for us. Like some people like come and tell us like "Ganbare" and stuff in Japanese, and that really helps us. And like it keeps our hopes up. So hopefully you guys can come do that, and if not, comment SST win or something on Twitch, and follow me on Twitter. That's all I can say.
Okay, thank you. 所以他说，他很开心，还在这个 list 里面，然后他很开心他是第2名，然后刚刚也顺便问了一下，第1名是您吗？
这你要帮我跟他解释是开玩笑的。
有他知道他知道。
You tell them I'm just joking.
然后他说，关于粉丝互动这方面，或者是现场工作人员互动这方面，他觉得说，除了比赛之前这一段时间可能让他们就是安静的想，比如说比赛事情之外，所有时间就比如说没有比赛的日子，或者是比赛以后。都可以很欢迎来跟他搭话、跟他聊天，或者是可以互相 follow 在Twitter 就是关注 Twitter， 因为他日本喜欢用 Twitter 嘛，所以他说如果你关注我的话，我会关注你啊。然后如果你需要我帮你签名，我给你签名，我给你拍照，任何什么事都可以。所以他其实是非常的友善的，所以就是欢迎大家来找他聊天。然后如果没有办法来到现场的朋友们，其实也可以在Twitch 里面的聊天室，或者是 YouTube 里面的聊天室说tag SST women 之类的，他们也会很开心。然后也感谢台湾的粉丝，经过其实他们常常听到台湾粉丝经过，他们会跟他们说请加油啊，用日文跟他们说一些加油打气话，其实非常感动，也非常谢谢粉丝们。这样。
这边咱们讲得很长，这边确实听起来蛮感动的。那问最后一个问题啦，就是你们就选手而已。你觉得除了你们2位以外，你觉得哪一个选手真的长蛮帅的
Alright, besides you two, who else do you think is really
不要一
handsome?
直讲自己哦，对你
没有，我
绝
对不会讲自己，我不是这种人，对不对？
你觉得我是吗？
你不是选手。
Would you say me?
分析台、主播台，我就
You say you're not a player.
选手，
不要给你。
Only among the
选
players.
手，我想一下，我觉得那个
想不出，
我忘记那个
I can't remember the name.
Fireball 的吗
Zalfix from Fireball, maybe?
对，
真的吗？我有 Fireball。
Really?
我有忘记他怎么对
Number one。
还有那个谁也蛮帅的，我觉得9TH 也蛮帅的。
And Knight from
他
Fireball.
身上有一股 hip hop 的灵魂。
He's got a bit of a hip hop feel.
91那种风格。
对，帅，是嘻哈的，很帅，很帅。
Really likes his style.
90H, right?
90H. He said 90H.
I think
Zalfix.
Yeah, he's really good
OK，
looking.
那 Zalfix 应该会蛮高兴的，被2位
Zalfix would be happy to hear that.
称赞。
No, wait, him.
OK， 那这边我们采访也告一个段落，这边是美女翻译以及我们的帅哥组合，跟大家说声拜拜喽，拜拜，下次见。
Well, it's the last time we'll see the two of them on that particular couch in that particular combination, because like they said, they've now played 4 whole times. That is it for them. It's the last time they will ever meet in this tournament. At least in gameplay.
And if you want to let us know who the top 4 most handsome casters are, please get to us as well, as we're about to get into match number 2 and the final match of the day. For day 1 of week 9, it's going to be AHQ Esports Club in the home side against Flash Wolves, and the away side, it's going to be one to really look forward to. So we'll see you on the other side.